I bid you welcome.
Okay, should we talk about the Demon House?
Is it safe to?
That's the thing.
We're not going to get possessed, are we? And our plate's going to start flying around my front room.
I don't know, man. It's kind of. Before I even started thinking about recording this, us talking about this show, this documentary, I was a little nervous because I was like, "Are they going to come and get us?"
Yeah.
Because right at the beginning, the first thing you see when you turn on this movie is the warning.
Yeah, in red letters as well.
Watch this movie at your own risk.
Yeah.
It's
like a disclaimer from like when you go on a fairground. It's like if you fall off or whatever, it's your own fault.
Yeah, it's like if you take your car to the car wash and they get that disclaimer saying, "Hey, any shit you left in your car, if it goes missing,
it's nothing to do with us.
It's nothing to do with us." Even though the guys cleaning the car are thieving motherfuckers.
Even though the guy cleaning your car is now wearing a Sony Walkman, like the one you had.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but so folks, we're talking about Demon House, which is a brand new movie by Zak Bagans of the Ghost Adventures team on the the Travel Channel here in the U.S. And what channel is it on in the U.K., Reeves? Do you know?
All of them,
like Sky or something, or what?
They're basically it moves around from different channels. I mean, when I last watched Sky TV, it was on about 3 different channels, so it kind of moves around. They re-show it and repeat it. But there was, I think it was like a Sky Paranormal or something, or Unexplained channel was on that, and it kind of. It's on UK TV. I mean, You've pretty much, it's not on mainstream telly. You've got to have a satellite or subscription service to get it.
Well, it's the same over here. It's on the cable channel. It's on the Travel Channel. It's so weird though how these channels. I know it's a little off topic, but let me just touch on it real quick. So the Travel Channel here in the U.S. for many years, all it contained was travel documentaries, different destinations around the world and different stuff to do with travel, hence the name of the channel, the Travel Channel. Right?
Yeah.
But then gradually over the last few years, it's morphed into the Paranormal Channel, where all they show are ghost adventures, paranormal witness, and my haunted life, and all all it is ghosts and paranormal stuff 24/7, but it's still called the Travel Channel.
But there was a deal done, wasn't there? Zak Bagans and the Ghost Adventure guys, the original bunch that made the film, because they made the film first of all, didn't they?
Yeah. Back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, years. What, 16 years ago, 18 years ago? It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, and you think, God, that's a long time ago, isn't it? That's a really long time ago. But he struck up a deal, or his management, whoever, they struck up a deal with the Travel Channel to have exclusive rights to air they'd seen the film, and they thought, we can make a series out of this,
right?
And the reason that the Ghost Adventures, I believe, took off, because Ghost Adventures weren't New Kids on the Block then, because you still had Ghost Hunters, which was going.
Well, Ghost Hunters,
Most Haunted.
Yeah,
the UK version.
So it was like, I think Ghost Hunters was the originator of this genre of television. I think they were modern
original.
Yeah, they were the first
there were
ones
other shows before that, but yes.
And I remember for the first few seasons of Ghost Hunters, maybe the first 5 or 6 seasons, I really enjoyed it. I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Then gradually, as it went on, it just got dumber and stupider,
it just got a bit wanky,
and then I just stopped watching it. Yeah. And then there was Most Haunted in the UK, which I used to watch.
You mean the comedy hour? Yeah.
I used to watch that, but then along came Ghost Adventures with Zak Bagans and co.
Yeah,
and
Nick Loff and Aaron. what's his name? The other one.
Yeah, the Aaron guy, and the guy who's either losing weight or got cancer or something. Because if you look at him in the first 5 or 6 seasons,
you want Nick Goff?
Yeah,
oh no, you're on about Aaron, the other guy, Aaron with the goatee. No, he went through something happened to him. Did you know this? He was in. The reason that he left the show was because now I don't know the full.
He's in the show though.
No, he left the show for a while.
Aaron, the bald guy with the goatee.
Yeah, he was in the show, and he left for a while, right? And he lost a lot of weight, and he looked like people thinking, oh, he's been ill. Yeah. But he went through a lot of problems with. He had a relationship problem, and he blamed it on the influence from the show stress and stuff. And he wasn't very well. He wasn't very well for a while. But I don't know whether the deal is because I only watched Ghost Adventures up to a certain point. But the thing was that the thing that made Ghost Adventures for me at the beginning, the first few seasons, really exciting, was that they got locked in these places.
Yeah, they lock them in for 24 hours in this haunted house, so they can't get out. That was a nice little spin on the whole genre. And I don't know about you, dude, but I love the show. I really enjoy Ghost Adventures. Now, whether or not it's real, or whether whether it's 100% bullshit or 80% bullshit or whatever, I really don't care anymore. I used to be really, are they faking this? Those fucking bastards, don't fake this, But now I'm like, whatever. I don't give a shit whether it's fake or not. It's just fun to watch. I enjoy watching it,
Look, we're on an investigation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're on an investigation. It's you and me. It's the Gareth and Reeves
investigation team,
and I've got night vision. People can see us, right? And we've got our EVP meters and our EMFs and our headgear, and we're in the dark, right? And then accidentally, you let out a little fart. Now, I instantly can have a choice. I can say, "You just farted," or I can say, "Did you hear that?
Yeah, what was that?
Did you hear that ghost?
Yeah,
that sounded like someone walking." And then just wait a minute. That fart turns into scientific evidence.
Yeah, because they captured it on, and they captured it on audio. And if you play it backwards, it's an EVP of "I will kill you."
And the guy at the end of the show that you do the review to, the reveal, he's a really kind of posh guy who owns this big mansion who's actually come in from business to sit down and listen to a fart that's being played back in slow motion. Yeah.
Crazy. Now, if you listen to this, if we play this at normal speed, listen. Now, I want you to listen very carefully. Put these headphones on. Now, listen carefully. Get out! Oh, dude. It's crazy, dude. But anyway, I got a quick clip here of the opening of the original Ghost Adventures. This is kind of curious. I like this is the original show, the opening, the creepy opening of Ghost Adventures.
My name is Zak Bagans. I never believed in ghosts until I came face to face with one. So I set out on a quest to capture what I once saw onto video. Is there anybody here? Oh my God. With no big camera crews following us around, I am joined only by my fellow investigator Nick Groff and our equipment tech Aaron Goodwin. The three of us will travel to some of the most highly active paranormal locations where we will spend an entire night being locked down from dusk until dawn. If this is the portal of hell, well, why don't you come up out of that ground and get us? Raw. Did someone just scratch me? Extreme. Oh my God. Stop! Oh my God. Stop running! These are our ghost adventures.
Our ghost adventures. So that was back when there was just the three of them.
Yeah.
And they were, being locked in, doing the lock-in thing. And now the more modern one, the one for like the last 3 or 4 seasons, ever since Nick Goff bailed over creative differences with Zak Bagans.
He went off to make T-shirts or something, didn't he?
I don't know. No, he has. So Nick Goff left Ghost Adventures.
No, he's got another show, hasn't he?
Called Ghost Lockdown or something. or
I'm a friend of
Paranormal Lockdown.
I'm a friend of Johnny Hauser, who's got a show called Johnny Hauser Versus, and he's pally with Nick Goff, and he's appeared on. I'm also a friend of Tim Smith from Live Sci-Fi, and they're all kind of like pally together, and they kind of mix and match with TV shows. But Nick Goff has got this kind of show now with this female, and they do this kind of like more of an investigation kind of thing, isn't it? I haven't seen any, but only like little clips.
Yeah, I've never. It's on T. I think it might even be on the Travel Channel. I don't know, but it's on one of those fucking channels, and I've watched a little bits and pieces. I haven't seen an episode all the way through, and it's very similar to what Ghost Adventures used to be like, but there's a lot more people. And now with the new Ghost Adventures that's been happening for the last 3 or 4 years, ever since Nick bailed. They have like four or five people on the investigations, and they've changed the opening. So this is the opening for the new Ghost Adventures, and it's a little more, I guess, aiming at the creepy factor and the investigation factor, but it doesn't mention lock-in or lockdown or anything like that. Listen to this.
There are things in this world that we will never fully understand. We want answers. We have worked years to build our credibility, our reputation, working alongside the most renowned professionals in the field, capturing groundbreaking proof of the paranormal.
It's working! I can't give you an explanation.
This is our evidence, our ghost adventures.
There you go.
So I have a question. Do you mind if I have a question?
Go ahead.
Why is it in both of those intros, I imagine Zach to be reading his intro lines off a massive blackboard?
Well, because
block capital right.
Because he probably is. When you like, here's the thing, man. When you're watching the show, and when you're watching Demon House too, which we're going to get into in a second, there's lots of voiceover as well. Because he explains what's going on, right? So I went to visit the owner of the house. The owner was not there, so I went to McDonald's instead. And he's obviously reading, right? And it sounds like he's reading. I mean, the trick is when you're reading something, it's to sound like you're not reading it. That's the trick. But when he reads, it sounds like he's reading. But here's the thing, though: when you're watching the movie or when you're watching the show, and he's coming over with these lame voices, well, hello, I am Zak Bagans. These what he's obviously reading. When you're watching the show, you get so caught up in the show, you don't notice it.
But that had the opposite effect for me with the film.
Yeah, because you're listening to it, right?
The first thing that I noticed was, God, that's fucking annoying.
Oh, when he
stop talking like that. Stop it.
Yeah, and there's a few
you're permanently depressed.
Yeah, so when I pulled a bunch of clips from the movie that we're going to play throughout this this show, and there's certain points where he's narrating. And when you listen to it just audio only, it's very kind of, we went into the basement. It was dark. We then turned on the light. The light came. It's very, he's reading, and it sounds ridiculous. But when you're watching it, you don't notice it as much.
So I think at this point, before we go any further, before we step over that bridge, I'll open that door that cannot be closed. We need to warn people that if you haven't seen this film, there's a potential that we're going to be spilling some beans here.
Yeah, that's true. So there's going to be a ton of spoilers. We're not holding back. We're going to discuss everything. So if you have not seen the film and you don't want it to be ruined by us ranting,
save the show.
Then hit stop or pause. Go watch the movie, then come back. Because if not, we're going to spoil it for you. We really are. So fair warning, okay? So the Demon House. So there was rumblings about this back in 2014, 2015 when Ghost Adventures was on. I remember there was the few news items. Zak Bagans bought a haunted house and all this stuff, but that was about it. There was never any real gist of what was going on other than he bought the house.
Yeah, but before that, before he bought the house, the occupants at the time, who do appear in this film, who I don't think they don't want to, they are kind of in it, but they're not in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They didn't want to know, so it's kind of like, but they had reported strange goings on,
right,
in the house, which got the news authorities and local paper and the press involved, which gave got the ball rolling,
right?
As to say there was strange goings on, and of course, the whole Zak thing kind of takes on, and we start people, the wider people, because there's not a lot of history on this. There's just this kind of like, this film is the story, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's felt like to me when I first started watching it. Obviously, there was the disclaimer in the front, which gave me an eye roll. Oh god, this is it's so lame. And then it started out, and I was like, oh, okay, this just looks like it's going to be like an extra long episode of Ghost Adventures, right? It's going to be like a 2-hour.
It felt like that. It felt like a Ghost Adventures Christmas special. Yeah.
This episode of Ghost Adventures is extra long because it's Halloween.
Yeah.
It's one of those type things. And I thought, well, this is going to be like an extra long. But it kind of wasn't, though. It was.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of Ghost Adventure type elements in the movie, but it's not really a Ghost Adventure episode. It is significantly different enough to separate it from the show. And even though I think the vibe I'm getting from you, Reeves, and the vibe I'm probably giving out to the listeners is that we're going to be pretty critical of this movie. But having said that, and I think we are going to be critical, I did enjoy it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for the fact that it's nice to watch something that has potential. But I do think that the film itself, there was a ulterior motive.
Oh, yeah.
For this film,
of course, yeah.
And I do think the film was a massive publicity stunt for basically there could have been more opportunities to find out what was going on in the house, if anything, in a more scientific way, which still could have been documented and made into an even better film.
Yeah, well, that's assuming, of course, that there was any evidence or anything there in the first place, right?
Yeah.
The feeling I have is that a lot of it is made up, but there's some stuff in there which I don't see. It's very difficult because we're just watching a movie. We weren't there. We don't have all the information, and when you don't have all the information, it's hard to make a good decision as to whether or not it's real or not. There were certain elements of the movie where I was like, "This is bullshit," and there were other elements of the movie I was like, "Wow, that's interesting."
Well, without going into too much depth and getting too convoluted, because it can get quite confusing, the original family that had the things happen to them, the actual phenomenon where they heard things and they saw things, that family vacated the property.
Right.
They got out of the house and they went and lived somewhere else.
Yes.
At that point, Zak stepped in over the phone. He knew it was vacant, and the people were still in there, and that's when he bought it. They had to move out, but he bought the property for $35,000.
And he bought it sight unseen, right?
Yeah.
He had not visited the house. He'd heard about the reports about demonic possession, demonic infestation, crazy paranormal events going on, and the house was for sale, so he bought it sight unseen. Now,
but the problem was that the house itself at the time was not lived in, as in it wasn't rented out, but they had squatters in the house.
Exactly.
So there had to be some deals there.
Sure.
And I think you should cover bring up the fact that these people that were already in the house, they didn't, at the time, they didn't want to talk about anything. But as soon as Zak started to flash his cash, they had all these crazy stories.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, the squatters
and that was my first red flag.
Yeah. They didn't. Originally, it was like, so what's? Oh, nothing. There's no ghost show. Nothing's happening. Yeah. But once they found out that he said, "Well, we're making a documentary." Well, I'm on. And even the guy. There's a clip in the movie where the guy says, "Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it unless you pay. Then I'll tell you what's going on."
Yeah, and that was the same with the family. He eventually, because I believe what his idea was to find the family that had the phenomenon happen around them, which was it was mainly based around one of the younger children. There was 3 children. One of the younger children. We'll cover that a little bit later. But I think he wanted to marry them back to the house and bring them back and see if the phenomenon would come back. But everyone that was involved with that didn't want anything to do with it. And originally you thought, now that is strange. If no one wants anything to do with anyone to do with the house,
maybe there's something to it, right?
Maybe there is something to it.
Yeah.
But then you find out that these people were already in talks with a major motion movie company to do with rights to a film.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, they're on a gag order or something, you know?
Yeah.
And another red flag.
Well,
but he was able to track down a family that lived there previously.
Yeah. Well, another big red flag, dude, is him buying the house. Yeah. Right, you don't spend $40,000 on a house on a whim just for shits and giggles, right?
He could have rented it for 12 months,
right? So he bought the house for one reason and one reason only, right? Because he thought this is going to be a financial investment. Yeah. I'm going to make a movie or at least a great episode or whatever, and I'm going to be able to sell this and make 10 times what I paid for the house.
Yeah, it was a loss leader. Yeah.
Yeah,
he was going to lose the money he'd spent, but he's going to get the money back in the long term.
Yeah, in threefold. He's going to get his money back. Doubled, tripled, quadrupled than what he paid for it.
Well, I can easily see this film being on the likes of Netflix.
Oh, of course, it's going to be everywhere. So it was released theatrically. Here in the United States on the 16th of March, 2018, in most major cities. And it wasn't a huge release. It wasn't like you go to your local Cineplex and there was Demon House.
More of a kind of independent release,
right? But it was released in the theater. To certain. I know that there was a theater here in LA that was playing it, and there's one in Austin, Texas, and select theaters they were playing the movie. But the day it was released on the 16th of March, it was also released on streaming media. It was available on iTunes, so people could purchase it that way.
Don't you think that's odd? Don't you think that's? I mean, you release a film into the cinema, into the pictures, and the whole point of it being in the pictures is you can go and experience it on the big screen. It's a night out, and yet on the same time you release it so that you can watch it on YouTube for $2 or $5 or whatever, and people are going to go, well, I don't need to go out, do I? I can just watch it.
Right.
So what's the point?
Because it was such a limited release. I mean, if this was a widespread release, right? Where it would not be available for streaming or download. It wouldn't. But because it was such a limited release, they released it in a handful of cinemas. And then everyone else online. But yeah, you're right. This is going to show up on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime or one. So he's gonna this little experiment in documentary filmmaking is definitely going to be very lucrative for Mr. Bagans, right?
Yeah.
And you cannot hold that against him, right? Everyone has the right to make money and to put food on the table and keep a roof over their head, right? That is his living. You can't do it for free. So I get it that, he's making money. But the thing that sours it is that if he's so invested in making money, is he inventing stuff to bolster the claims to make this more financially viable? That's the issue I have.
Here we have the dilemma with a lot of these what I call weekly ghost shows, and when I say that, I mean weekly ghost shows like Most Haunted, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Hunters International, Ghost Adventures. You've got to, you're going to all these different locations which have legends and things that have happened, and clearly, some of this phenomenon really does happen, and people do experience some very strange stuff. But if anyone that reads a lot of older text, older books and stuff, you find that this kind of stuff, it doesn't happen all the time, and there's certain conditions where it happens. But these shows, you have to churn out something every week, even if it's just a cup falling off of something, or a glass moving.
Right.
You've got to have something every week, and then you base. I mean, let's be honest. One of the hokey things about Ghost Hunters was every beginning of every show they would have one thing that happens, and they would make this big build up
right
at the beginning of the show. This one thing, and then you wouldn't see what it was. But you'd have to watch the whole episode.
To see the end, yeah.
So 1 minute at the end, you'd see this thing happen, like a like a ding or something, and you'd think, okay, I waited all that an hour for that.
Right. So there were to Ghost Hunters' credit, though, in a lot of the earlier episodes for the first couple of seasons, they did do episodes where they did investigations, and nothing happened.
Well, they had, but because they had,
and nothing happened.
And they had the X cams,
and
all
nothing
that
came up. But then, as the show went on, I think they were under increasing pressure by their producers or whatever. Like, hey, you know what? We got fucking money to make here. You better make some of this shit happen.
Well, right? I suppose the more popularity that you become, the more popular the popularity level goes up, and the more is expected of you.
Right.
And I think that we do know, let's be honest, we do know that Zak is a bit of a showman.
Oh, absolutely.
And he likes to,
of course. Yeah, he's a huge showman, opportunist, publicity whore. Big time.
He is the head. You say Ghost Adventures. You don't think of the other two guys who were just as important. You see him. You see his face. That's all you see.
Yeah, exactly. So I was gonna mention earlier is that like a disclaimer, we both know, Reeves, that paranormal phenomena is very real, right? We've both experienced it. Absolutely, 100% is legit. But something else that people should realize is that even though it is very real, it's very, very rare.
Yeah.
Right? It's not something that's happening every 3 seconds. No. So the fact that these guys can make a show every week and stuff happens is, I mean, it's against all odds. It's impossible. There's no way. You could make 30 shows, and maybe in one of those shows there'd be a very, very minor incident.
And this is what interested me about this film, because it was the perfect opportunity to really make a groundbreaking paranormal investigation documentary. You could have really made your mark and stamped your boot mark and say, you want to investigate? This is how you do it.
Yeah.
And because, let's be honest, the house itself, to give those that haven't seen the film, this isn't some sort of sprawling mansion. This is a small townhouse.
Just a normal house.
Cottage on one level. Yeah. It had a large front room.
Basement.
A basement. Well, the basement was quite large, but and I think most of the phenomenon was circled around the basement. A couple of bedrooms and a kitchen, and that was it. There's nothing else there. And the thing is that this house itself, he could have really gone to town and set up, cameras. He didn't even need to be there. Set sound recorders, cameras, external cameras. But no, they didn't do that. What they did was they went about it a completely different way, which I thought was a bit clanky and a bit awkward.
But something we should mention, though, James. Something we should mention, Reeves, is this investigation took place over what, 2 or 3 years?
I think it was 2 years, 2.5 years. So
something
it was
like that, right? So they were investigating, filming.
Yeah.
Let's say for minimum 2 years. 2 years solid investigation on this house.
People did change. There was, well, we'll get into it in a little bit, but
so,
some of their crew changed as well, didn't they?
Exactly, yeah. So over those 2 years in the investigation, the footage that they obtained over a 2 year period was then edited down into an hour and a half documentary called Demon House.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff in this movie.
Yeah, there is. We're not just looking at 2 or 3 people just walking around with cameras. They do capture some phenomenon, and I have to say that as much as I was like getting halfway through the film, I was like, oh, come on, let's just get to some action. I know it was very slow paced. The film itself, for the first 40 minutes, you're thinking, what am I watching? But after that, you start to sort of piece the puzzle. And what is interesting, things start to happen. But the last 10 minutes of the film, it really did get the old hairs on the back of my neck standing up, especially when you're watching it with headphones in a dark room and a big screen. You're thinking, what the I don't want to be there. I don't want to see this, because it's the unknown. You know, he is, I mean, if it's real, he captured something strange.
Yeah, exactly. You know? So one of the first pieces of evidence that appeared in the movie was, and this piece of evidence is something that's very common in hauntings, in severe hauntings, and it's been reported the world over for as long as there's been ghost hunters and paranormal investigations. This kind of phenomena is very, very common, and that's goo or liquid.
The goo on the blinds. Right. And that was experienced by a previous. I think it was a crew that went in when the family was actually living in the house, the original family, and they did a vigil. I think it was an overnight vigil,
right?
And a number of them experienced it, saw this goo on the blinds, and they couldn't understand where it was coming from. It was like an oily, like a cooking oil.
Well, that was
texture.
It wasn't so much the goo itself or the oil or whatever it was. It was they could not find the origin where it was coming from, whether it was dripping from the ceiling or you could not. It was essentially coming from nowhere. Now I have a quick clip here from the movie where they talk about the window shades and the goo.
Upstairs, something begins to happen in the center bedroom.
We went in the center bedroom on the first floor, and the blinds were dripping oil. And Zach, they weren't dripping from the top as you would expect. They were dripping from the middle of the blinds.
There was some liquid material that had appeared on some blinds in there, and we had no source for that material.
We left the room. First, we photographed it and documented it, and then I wiped down the blinds. And then we sealed the room, and I thought if the grandmother had went in there and introduced the oil, I wanted to make sure that she didn't go in the second time. So we stuck a Q-tip in the door, at the bottom of the door, and then we came back about 40 minutes later after Father Maginot had blessed the house, and the Q-tip was still in the door. We went in, and then the blinds were dripping oil again. Lieutenant Grushka actually went outside, and we shined flashlights on the outside of the windows to see if it was coming in from the outside or from the ceiling, and we could never determine the source, Zach.
So it's a very common phenomena, the goo coming out of the walls or whatever, and there's never a source. You can never distinguish. It's just there. You know?
Well. Yeah, it's connected to you get a lot of cases where you get things like that with poltergeist phenomenon, and obviously whatever you might think of, and we can go sidestep here to the Amityville case, where I mean there's a lot of conjecture with that. You know, people say it's fakes, people say it's real. There's lots of things have happened with that where it's become so muddied. But there was a case with flies, and one of the first reported phenomenon in this house was
flies.
A lot of flies, a lot of house flies in the house.
Yeah.
Well, you could be some natural cause for that, you know.
Sure.
But this oil that was appearing on the blinds, and also they couldn't find a cause for it. I mean, you get pooling of liquids in the poltergeist phenomenon, and you also get, fires and stuff. But the liquid as well is an interesting first step. And an interesting side note is one of the women who was there, one of the investigators, she actually touched some of the oil. She got it on her hand.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about this. Yeah.
They took a photograph of her hand, and the palm of her hand had all kind of like the blood had like drained away from the area where the oil was. It kind of made it go very white and pale. And she had a lot of bad luck after that. She was involved in an accident. She had some other things happen in her life. So she was kind of started to get this run of bad luck.
Yeah.
You could say is coincidence.
Right. Well, that was one of the main themes of the demon house, was that people who come in contact with the house, bad things happen to them. They get sick, they get ill, and we're going to get on. We're going to touch on that in a little bit in regard to one of a very famous investigator. But something else we should touch on also is the police. Now, the police were involved in this, and they were brought out on multiple occasions. And a lot of the police were very nervous. They wouldn't even want to go in the house. And there's a scene in the movie where Zak is talking to two police officers, and they blur out their faces not to be identified, and they adjust the sound on their voice so you can't recognize their voices. And he's filming them from inside the car as he's outside talking to them. And I pulled this clip, and it's very interesting to hear how the police talk. And at the time, the police didn't know they were being recorded. I'm sure afterwards they gave their clearance and everything. But during the conversation, they were unaware they were being recorded. And it's quite telling to hear what they have to say about the house and a certain 5-page report that they have that they won't even look at because it's so disturbing. Let's have a quick listen. And listeners, try and pay it. This can be difficult to listen to because the voices are disguised.
They're masked,
but try your best, because it's very interesting to hear what these police officers have to say.
We leave and drive around for an hour. Then the man living next door calls me. He tells me there's someone on my porch trying to break in.
Are they turning into my house?
Yeah, go over there. Go.
All right, right now we are just around my house and we see 3 police cars turning down the street to my house. Yeah, pull up over there. Go. Hang on, let me go. Slow down, Matt. Jeez. God. All right, let's...
The police won't go near my house.
So, you think there's spooks in there?
What I've witnessed is yeah.
And you think I saw them walking up the walls and stuff?
I saw the video that Chief Miller filmed.
You saw the video?
Yeah.
Never read the report? Go on, I ain't reading that. No. Read the whole report. No. There's an actual, like, 5-page police report on this house. I got it.
If you want to wait, I'll take you guys in there.
No, I'm good. I don't want to go in there. Yeah, because I believe in that shit, and that shit might follow me home.
Chief said he refuses to ever do it because stuff follows you.
Yes, that shit.
And I won't tell him that.
I don't even like standing out here close to this place, man.
It's a different kind of haunting. It's not just.
Man, you ain't fucking with me, right? You telling me the truth.
Yeah.
I don't. Weird. Like, tear that motherfucker down, man. Oh, seriously, man.
No, we get answers.
No, I don't need no lead.
We can get answers.
You tear that motherfucker down, and what you gonna let loose on the world? Oh, true. What you think that thing's plugging?
So they were being kind of lighthearted, but you could kind of sense that they did not want to go, because there's was that you could hear right there. Zak says, "Come on, I'll take you in there. We can go." And he's like, "No. I don't want to go in there. I don't even want to be standing outside the place. I don't want to go in."
Well, that's interesting because there is a 5-page police report, and police were called to the address on a number of occasions. So there's the thing is, this house has built up its own kind of its own phenomena,
its own reputation too.
Yeah, and it's got a reputation of it's an evil house, and that if you even step on the lawn, you're gonna come to something will happen to you, and we can see the parallels here on a smaller scale, but we can see the parallels here with the Amityville case, where that was meant to be an evil hell house. And if you ever, try to do anything, in there, bad things you would change. You would, you'd be possessed or whatnot. So I think that there are parallels to draw from these two cases.
Very similar.
And
which is probably why the movie companies were interested in this case, because of the parallels between the Amityville horror and the Demon House.
Well, actually, in the show, I think we should touch on that. In the show, Zak actually gets a phone call from a movie executive or somebody acting on their behalf, warning him that he's making a documentary, he's not making a film, and that he should be more careful in who he's trying to involve, and stop contacting the family because they're in talks or something with some movie agent or something. Because he says, what are you doing? I'm not scared of you. You're trying to threaten me. So there is interest in this, as I wouldn't be surprised in 6 months, a year, that there is a film out.
Yeah, it could be.
Some sort of horror film. I mean, like a little, unfortunately, a little like they did with the Enfield case, and they made that film, which was an absolute shambles, horrible.
Well, they made They made a TV show. They made a film. They were just really trying to cash in on that event.
It was horrible. Yeah. But the thing is, I think that this kind of thing could go the same way.
Right.
And I think that with the police and people like that, you get this kind of stuff, and if you talk about it enough, whether it's real or not, it becomes real, doesn't it? Because it's on a public knowledge.
Absolutely. Now, one of the main things about this movie, which really pushed me from this is a total complete hoax to something might be going on here, is the involvement of Dr. Barry Taff.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Taff is legit, right? He's not just one of these maniacs, ghosts are everywhere, blah, blah, blah. The guy's very rational. He's very logical. He's investigated hundreds and hundreds of hauntings, and he has amassed a lot of evidence. He's experienced a lot of stuff. One of his most famous case was the Entity Case.
Yes,
in Culver City in L.A., which they made into a movie in the early 80s with Barbara Hershey and stuff. And the movie's pretty good, but the real story is a lot better. And
and they did actually capture some very interesting phenomenon as well.
Absolutely.
Light arcs and stuff. They did do some proper scientific research, and they did get some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
One of the most in-depth for the time. One of the most in-depth cases to be researched thoroughly.
Yes, they made some very, 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 very cool evidence, and the house is still standing. I visited it. I found out where it was, and I drove over there and parked across the street. So it still exists, and people are still living there, and there's no phenomena. Yada yada yada. But I have a clip right here of several clips actually of Dr. Taff, because his involvement and what he experiences, it really does, from my perspective, add a level of validity to this case. So here's Dr. Taff arriving at the Demon House.
I invite Dr. Barry Taff, who holds a doctorate in psychophysiology, a minor in biomedical engineering, and who's conducted over 4,500 investigations, including the famed Entity Case in 1974, to help me try to decide if high levels of man-made electromagnetic or earth-made geomagnetic energy could be causing false positive paranormal events inside the house.
This is a frequency counter here. And it was amazing. Plugged it in, and it showed 60 hertz fields throughout the whole house, higher than I would want. But it wasn't that bad.
So he brings a lot of equipment with him to check for electromagnetic fields and the whole deal, the whole ghost hunter stuff, scientific measurements, so they can scientifically measure the environment of the house to see if there's anything abnormal which might be causing hallucinations or the like, because it's a scientific fact that people, if you expose someone to high levels of electromagnetic fields for long enough, that you get a feeling of being watched. You feel like you pressure. You can see shapes out of the corner of your eye, hear voices, all this stuff, just because you're being bombarded by electromagnetic fields, and it's common. They found that houses that are built next to high power lines, those big power pylons, that people will occasionally experience or report paranormal phenomena. And it's not that it's real paranormal phenomena. It's something to do with the electromagnetic spectrum and how it affects the human brain. So Dr. Taff shows up with his equipment to measure the electromagnetic field in the house. Everything's pretty normal. And then something happens.
They're in the basement. This is where they're doing it, in the basement, aren't they?
Right. So he picks up a strange field, and then they get some interference from Zak. So have a listen to this.
Just as you did that, we got a spike on the instrument.
That's how it happens. It comes in and it'll hit me. Why would that happen?
Your body's in some way it's in some way affecting the electromagnetic field here. Your body is a capacitor. You're being charged up by this environment, and you discharged it.
Whoa, I'm getting crazy interference in here.
Let me see, I'm getting it off him then. Try magnetic or something.
I'm getting real aggravated.
Look. It's magnetic. Look. We didn't get that before, did we?
No.
20 milligauss coming off you. That's a little high. Why would your body be emitting? Now remember, biomagnetic fields are really weak. You shouldn't be able. You need a superconducting sensor.
And what was I giving off? 20 milligauss?
About maybe 8 to 12 million times normal.
What?
8 to 12 million times normal.
8
to 12 million. The average human body's magnetic field, we generate is measured in millionths of a Gauss.
So yeah, Zak was giving off a very weird electromagnetic field, right? Now, the fact that Barry Taff was talking about that, I mean, it really makes you think, right? Because Taff is not in the business of bullshitting.
No, he's got a certain reputation to uphold,
right?
And we have seen this before, where older buildings or where there's been sightings of apparitions or phenomenon that's ongoing, that the environment in some way is being affected, and you can measure that to a certain degree. The thing is that with this house is that what we don't know is that is it something to do with the way the Earth works and the way that the atmosphere works that's affecting us as individuals, or are we actually interacting with something else that is influencing individuals on an individual basis?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that within these clips we do notice, and we saw it before on Ghost Adventures, that Zak tends to. This is where I get a bit. He has these sudden moments of rage where he wants to do something angry. He gets angry very quickly, and there's two bits on here. He goes, he has a go at one of the cameramen.
He grabs him.
He grabs him and pushes him against the wall and tells him to get the out of the house. And that cameraman subsequently chucks the towel and says, "I'm done with this. You can find someone else." And he also does with Barry Taff.
Yeah.
He does kind of goes for him, but stops himself.
Yeah. He
walks away, and it's like
wants to attack him.
That's very odd, and it's very odd behavior.
Yeah.
What's the influence there? What's the catalyst?
Well, there's either something is going on there, or he's just acting. He's just playing to
or
the
is
camera,
he just,
right? He's just making it up and just he's
which is not good anyway. That's not good,
But there's no way of knowing. Even when I was watching it and seeing him get angry, you can't tell whether something is really going on or whether he's just fooling around.
Yeah.
And but this whole thing with Dr. Taff leads into something very disturbing. Something that I've watched a couple of times. I've played it back and watched it over and over. And it's the first piece of real evidence. and it leads. It starts straight away with Taff talking about a dog he hears.
Yes, he says he can hear a dog growling or barking in the other room.
And then it leads into something very, very disturbing, I found. Now I'm going to play the clip right here, but for our listeners, this is going to be a challenge because it's visual.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to see it, but you'll hear it, and maybe this will inspire you to watch the movie so you can see this, because I didn't detect any fakery here. That's not to say it's not fake, but if it is, I didn't see it. Yeah, have a listen to this.
Do you want to get out of here for a minute? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Because you're
I need
concerned.
something to drink, like water.
Okay.
Yeah, I just feel very. Yeah. I'm feeling dizzy here.
I'm noticing that you keep shutting your eyes and
because
swaying.
I feel like I'm going to fall backwards. I feel like I'm going to pass out. Let me see if I move.
Are you okay? As we head upstairs, I go outside to clear my mind from the house. And at that time, I don't notice Dr. Taff becoming affected again. Weeks after this investigation, we discover something disturbing captured on this camera while he walks in a state of confusion towards the back hallway.
This is very frustrating for people listening because you can't see what's.
Well, let us set the scene. So, Barry Taff, he's upstairs on the upper level. He walks through, back through a small doorway to go back into another room. And as he walks past this kind of doorway, he's got a cameraman that's following him. And as the cameraman follows him in, you see this black, like a shadow kind of arm or something come out to the side of the frame behind by the side of the camera and then kind of dip away. I think it's in 7 frames. It's very strange.
You can hear him talk about it right now. He says it's in 7 frames, isn't it?
The black anomaly appears in 7 frames, shooting at 24 frames per second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which means that when played at regular speed, the anomaly manifests in a fraction of a second. As Dr. Taff walks back, he places his hand in the exact spot where the black mass just manifested off the wall, at which time he immediately becomes affected again.
Oh, it's really bad in there. That same sense of nausea and like you're going to throw up. Reverse peristaltic action, very strong in there.
So he's getting really sick after experiencing. Now that clip with the black mass, I find it very compelling, Reeves. I don't know about you, but when you're watching it, they slow it down significantly so you can see it. When you watch it at normal speed, you probably wouldn't even notice it.
I saw it the first time and I didn't really. I saw it, but I just thought it was a trick of the light. And then they picked up on it, and then I thought, oh, it's just the cameraman's hand by the top-mounted light. He's just casting a shadow, on the wall next to him, and he's obviously adjusting something.
Right.
But then they have it analysed, don't they? They take it to a film, and he brightens it all and stuff, and you can see that there's no definition to it. Right. If it were fingers or a hand, you'd see fingers, but it's just a blob. It's just a black, like a cloud that comes in and goes away again.
Exactly.
And it's very strange. And we've seen this before with other hauntings and other evidence that's been presented by different people that they capture a similar thing, these shadows or objects that kind of glint in and out of shot. And it's possible. It's possible.
So I should mention that for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been trying to contact Barry Taff. I've sent numerous emails to him and called his number because he, like a maniac, he posted his phone number on the internet. I don't think it's there anymore. and because he used to be quite active on social media. And I would converse with him and ask him questions about, and then all of a sudden, about maybe 2.5 years ago, he vanished. He just dropped off the planet. You cannot. He hasn't been anywhere. He launched a podcast for a while and released 2 episodes and then stopped. And everyone was curious, like, well, what happened? Well, now having watched The Demon House, we get a glimpse into what's been going on with Dr. Taff, because nobody had any idea. I mean, obviously, I'm sure his family and friends did, but for the rest of the paranormal community who were interested in his work and what he has to say on certain things, everyone was confused because nobody knew. He just vanished completely, and he still has not returned. He's still not posting or writing or commenting on anything. He's just gone. And it looks like the Demon House or the events in the Demon House had something to do with it, because he got sick making this movie.
Really sick, yeah.
Really sick, and ended up in hospital. And here's a quick interview from the movie that was conducted from Barry Taff's hospital bed by Zak Bagans.
A short time after returning home, Dr. Taff's organs began to shut down one by one. Being in overall good health, the doctors cannot explain the cause of this.
Okay, so they started telling me my organs are shutting down and failing. All my organs started shutting down. My prostate, massive infection, my kidneys, my liver, my bladder was infected, my whole body was failing. But I mean, it was collectively, it wasn't like a little here, boom, 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 boom. It's like a cascade. This, boom, 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 poof. I felt nauseous and dizzy, and went back to the hotel later on, and I fell, and then I passed out, and I started to shake really bad, and that's atypical. Did you ever go back to the house? No. I said, and the man who hired me went back, and he got sick. A cameraman was there, and he got really sick, and I saw it right in front of me, and he got sicker than I did. What? Started shaking, nauseous, kept throwing up. It's all happening. See, the problem is, it's all happening at the same time. That's what makes it weird. So, the problem is, why are my organs all starting to shut down simultaneously? This place might have had a more dynamic and dramatic effect on me, but in a way I didn't understand until it all slammed me together. If my theory is correct, that my body shutting down is the result of being in the Demon House just for several hours, that's long-term effects. I was only there a few hours. If I'd stayed there overnight, given what's going on with me now, I'd probably be dead by now. Who knows what's going on there? It might, beside the paranormal phenomena, there may be other elements that are tied into it to explain this in ways we don't yet understand. And what happened with you at the house, what happened with the cameraman at the house, this is this tip of the iceberg. So this may provide incredible new definition for what's going on in these cases. This is a life-changing experience because I never thought this would happen to me.
So, I mean, I guess that explains what's been going on with Dr. Taff. Very interesting stuff.
But the thing is that Dr. Taff got sick, but also when the first cameraman, because it was a 2-cameraman shoot, he had 2 cameramen. One of the cameramen, after Zak turned on the cameraman, he left. They brought in another guy who was recommended through the other cameraman, and he went to the house, and it was he was also documented on film to have this kind of strange change,
right?
And he was there when he came back to the hotel one evening. He was acting very weird. He witnessed something. He witnessed a very tall figure with a ram-like head in an elevator, I think.
Right.
And that kind of freaked him out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Zak talks at the beginning of the film that one of the things that inspired him was that he had this dream of this large humanoid ram figure that was in a nightmare or something that he had an altercation with, and that this is what inspired him to go on and do this documentary. But it's strange that this guy would have the same vision or experience that Zak had, and from that point on, this other guy becomes incredibly unstable. I mean,
Very unstable.
Babbling and shouting at nothing, and even in the middle of the night in the hotel that they're staying, he's in the aisle of the hotel, walking in and out of rooms, saying, "I know you're here. I'm going to get you. I'm not scared of you." And you're thinking, is this guy having some sort of psychotic breakdown or something?
Yeah.
Is he on drugs? What's going on?
Or is he just acting, knowing that they're making a movie?
Yeah. Or is he kind of blowing things out of proportion because the camera's on him?
Right, exactly.
You know? This is where it becomes very kind of grey.
Yeah, there's no real way of knowing, you know, if he's full of it or if it's legitimately happening. So Reeves, this kind of all comes to a head after all these events have taken place, the investigation, the people getting sick. It all comes to a head where Zak, Ghost Adventures style, says that he wants to be locked in the house for 24 hours, completely sealed in. So they board up literally.
Yeah.
So they board up all the windows.
Yeah.
And they board up the front door. So there's no way in or out.
He's got a telephone with a messenger, and he's got a two-way radio. And that's
just in case something happens or he gets sick or
Yeah.
blah blah blah, whatever. And he's in there alone in this house, and obviously there's cameras set up everywhere to film if anything happens.
Yeah.
And for 90% of the night, nothing happens, and then something does. And the thing that does happen, I think it's the part that you mentioned that that really unnerved you.
Yeah, it did.
Let's take us through that, Reeves, step by step. What happened?
Well, you see, Zak's in one of the back bedrooms, and he's just on the bed. He's got a bed in there, and he's on his phone. He's obviously just jicking around on his phone. And the stairs that go down to the basement are outside the room that he's in, and the door is open to the basement. You first hear what sounds like footsteps walking up the stairs.
Okay, let me play that. Let me play that.
Yeah.
So think about this, right? This is like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it's early in the morning.
Early in the morning, pitch dark outside. It's complete darkness.
The lights out. There's no lights.
The lights out. He's in the room. He's sitting on the bed. They have the cameras running. And he's completely he's completely alone in the house. It's boarded up. No one can get in. No one can get out. And he knows this. And then he hears this. That was someone coming up the stairs.
Walking up the wooden stairs.
Listen one more time. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was him, I would lose my shit right there.
I would be out that window. Through that chipboard, I'd be gone.
And then so let's take us through the scene. So you're sitting there, Reeves. You got it on your TV, big screen TV. You got headphones on. You're sitting in the darkness watching this. And what happens next?
Well, just as that part happens, my Cadbury's finger cream fudge drops all down my T-shirt because it's fallen out of my mouth. Because I forget to chew.
You're like, oh my god. And then it the whole thing, you think that's pretty unnerving. Then it bumps up to a whole new level. Yeah. So he's sitting there, and here's the footsteps, and then this happens.
He backs up on the bed. He moves.
He backs up. He's like, oh shit, here we go. And then this happens. Did you hear that?
It sounded like a demonic Ewok.
Listen. I just got chills listening to that again.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Now they do enhance it, so let's listen to the enhanced version. Now, what does that sound like?
A very angry Ewok.
No, seriously. Does it sound like a person? Does it sound like an animal? What is it?
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. When I heard that noise, do you know what it reminded me of?
What?
That weird baby in a razor head.
Oh yeah.
That's what it reminded me of, and that's what it that kind of same vibe. It gave off that same sort of vibe.
Okay, one more time. Here we go. Now at this point, Zach is very, very disturbed.
Yeah.
Get away from me. Get away.
What happens next, Reeves?
Well, what happens next? He's got a night vision camera next to him, and he's so focused on the door, and he's backed up on the bed that he's pushing down the bed, and the night vision camera goes off of the bed. It rolls over on its side, and then of course it immediately loses focus. But as it loses focus and it just goes out of focus, you see a large, what you'd think was a shadow come out of the wall from where the basement is and walk across the opening of the door, and that's when he freaks out. Totally.
Back the fuck up.
This was a great moment in the in the movie. It really was a great moment when you see that shadow walk in front of the doorway.
Yeah.
In a allegedly empty house, right? And that's it. I mean, that's pretty. Then the house, he has the house demolished.
But he starts to get a pain in his head.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
He gets a pain in his head. He starts to complain through the film that now and again he gets a pain in his forehead, and like his temples are burning or something. And then at the end of the film, when that event happens, he radios, "Get me out of the house. I want out now." And they let him out. But afterwards, he's getting really double vision, basically. He wakes up in the morning with double vision, and he has to go to the hospital, the eye doctor, and they do all these examinations on him, and they find that he has is a medical condition for it, where your eyes, that you get like eyes cross, and he has to wear, from now on, prism glasses to correct his vision.
Right.
So he doesn't get these headaches and stuff.
Yeah.
But I knew he wore glasses before.
Well, see, that's what makes sense, too, because if you're a regular watcher of Ghost Adventures, you'll know that for, the first 7 or 8 seasons, he never wore glasses. And then all of a sudden,
he was wearing glasses.
He started wearing glasses.
Yeah.
And now we know why.
Yeah. And the thing is that he has a medical affliction, possibly because of his experience.
Yeah.
Barry Taff has the medical affliction, and the second cameraman, who went back to the hotel feeling sick and ill, he ended up vomiting blood, and then he started to go crazy, started talking crazy stuff.
And he got 666 tattooed all over his body.
Yeah, afterwards, he had the 666 tattooed on his hands. And he got into sort of demonic rock and stuff. But they had to dismiss him from the crew because he became unable to work with him, because he was so off the scale. But I mean, the thing is that all these events happen in the film. In the last sort of 15 minutes, all this stuff starts happening. But the sad thing is that the solution to that is knock the house down, just demolish it. Now, is it demolished? We do know that. Well, if somebody said to me, if a place is haunted, is it the house or is it the land? Well, I think that phenomenon, if it's going on, it's still going to be going on. It's still going to be happening.
Yeah. Well, the owner of the property, because we sold the house to Zach, but he owned several of the other houses. A lot of the people that lived in the other houses that were renting from him, they said they did experience phenomena also, but to a far lesser degree than what had happened in that house. He bulldozed the house completely. Now there's nothing there, just an empty lot. And I did a search on YouTube, and I found a video of a guy who very recently, in the past month or so, drove over to the place in Gary, Indiana, where it's located, with his video camera, or probably his phone. and filmed the area. And the tree is still there. The tree that was outside the house is still there. But the house is long gone. It's just an empty lot. It's just dirt. Nothing.
He
nothing
did
there.
keep some things. He kept the basement stairs.
Yeah.
He kept some. Below the stairs there was a dirt area in the house that they found some. They found some panties. They found some
like a fingernail and stuff.
Fingernails and stuff. They thought that something possibly could have been going on there. Conjuring or something like that, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he kept that dirt. He had all that dirt dug up and kept.
Yep.
And he kept some other things. He kept some crosses that were in the house and a few other things. But most of the house was destroyed. But the thing was, they did have some problems with people going and trying to get on the land and do rituals and stuff afterwards. And one of the people that did previously live there in that place, the biggest problem that they had was not people, was ghosts, was police driving by all the time, shining torches in the window, and also the house was being a curiosity for people wanted to go and try and be there or standing outside to have their photo. That was a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So we see that with other cases as well. But also
absolutely.
the family that reported the phenomenon, the biggest problem was the children were they had a child protection people come in to find out where their children weren't going to school. And of course the mother said, well, it's because my children are being harassed by ghosts and they can't go to sleep. And that's why they're not at school, basically. But this isn't something new, because they'd actually been reported before for their children not going to school years before this phenomenon happened. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of conjecture there. If you start digging a little bit and find out, what's going on, there are some things that give you start making you scratch your chin a bit and thinking, did Zach see this as like a bit of a money basket and think, I could make some money here.
So Reeves, we're coming to the end of the show, so we have to kind of summarize our thoughts on Demon House. What are your thoughts, just to wrap it up?
Wrap up my final thoughts. If you want to watch a film and you're a fan of ghost hunters and you like a bit of a scare, but you want to watch it with a little bit of your tongue in your cheek, then this is go ahead and watch it. I wouldn't take this film as something that's a full-blown 100% down the line investigation, because it's not. It's more of a little, let's say, one of those kind of like horror. It's that in that ilk. But at the end of the day, he does. It's not just about Zach getting all angry and stuff, or needs to wear glasses. There are other people that were involved with this film that did get ill and there are other people outside of the film, like police, that have had things happen to them, and that's documented. So it's a bit of both, really. There's something going on there, but as to what it is, well, we'll never know, will we?
Yeah.
We've only got this film.
I would agree with your sentiments, Reeves. I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was a fun watch. I think it's both. I mean, Zach is an opportunist. He is like he is a marketing guy. He is. I mean, his whole deal. I mean, the way he dresses, the way he acts. He's like a promotion, and he knows how to make a buck. But it does seem like, from watching the movie, that some things did happen, especially with the involvement of Barry Taff. Really pushes me towards the stuff it was going on there.
I'm saying, Gareth, when you're in the business, you gotta be earning the good money, because those skeleton gloves don't come cheap.
That's true. He was wearing skeleton gloves.
Now you have to watch the film to see what I'm on about.
yeah, you have to watch that. That was a little bizarre. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie, and I would recommend people checking out.
I would say, I mean, 7 out of 10. It's worth it. I say, if you want to have a bit of a scare with your friends, watch it. It's a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, it's good stuff. The Demon House.